Hey, this is Mike from Junkion Crafts and Builds, and today we're going to be looking at the unboxing and impressions of Marvel Legends X-Men release Monet St. Croix. Now, I just found her in the wild last weekend with some other Legends figures, like the Astonishing Ant-Man and the Tracksuit Mafia. So I picked her up. I remember I was first introduced to this character in the Phalanx Covenant storyline. This is where we're first introduced to her in this uniform. It wasn't until Generation X came out in the 90s where we really got to understand this character. I'm not up to date on the entire history of her. I know initially that the real Monet was actually Penance and her twin sister was acting as Monet, or at the time she was called M. They had a brother that was kind of like a nutty empath or whatever. Whole convoluted story. But let's just look at this figure right now. At least we'll start with the box real quick. So we have this nice render up front. We have this really nice comic image. This is part of the Ch'OD Build-A-Figure line. Get the entire list of characters that you need to get this Build-A-Figure done. And on the back we have another render of Monet with all her accessories. So let's just get her out of the box. And here we have Monet out of the box. And we'll go through accessories real quick. And as you can see right now, she has two kind of open gripping hands going. Her other accessories are a pair of closed fists. And the Ch'OD Build-A-Figure piece, which is right here. Kind of concerned if I wanted to go through and get this entire set. There's not really any shading. There's like a hint of a yellowish dry brush here on the bottom. I'm not sure if the light's going to bleed that out or not, but everything else is just kind of like this green blobby plastic, which I don't know. Definitely would need some TLC whenever he's put together, because you have a lot of really cool sculpted detail that's just lost in the green plastic here. But it does get a toe tilt down, toe tilt up. Not a pivot at all. Oh, I'm lying. There's a pivot. And like I said, it has a pinned single jointed knee. It will get you 90 if you decide to build this guy. But that's besides the point. Let's go back to Monet. So again, Monet St. Croix, because of her mixed heritage, she is French. This figure, again, I think the selling point, kind of like the Astonishing X-Men, is this face sculpt, and we're gonna zoom in on that now. I really like the look of this face sculpt. I think they did a really good job, especially with the digital printing. Yeah, it just, I think it's the little details. Like, it seems like there's a little bit of color to the cheeks, nice subtle paint to the lips. There's a little bit like an eyeliner around the eyes. Again, she looks really, really good. Hair could use a little bit of a wash. Right now the light kind of bounces off this black plastic to kind of give it a little definition. She has these two locks of hair that are softer, which theoretically you could kind of play around with and kind of put back. But yeah, the face sculpt was the first thing that caught my eye through the digital render, and also just when I took the figure out of the box. But looking at the rest of her, she's obviously red plastic, but it's not shiny. Not super shiny. This is just the bounce off the lights here that kind of give it that like bit of a glow or a gloss, but really it's a nice matte plastic. These shoulder pads are separate pieces, yay, which will help with articulation later on here. My X on her zipper here is a little light on this side, but overall, like when you have it back, you're not going to really see it too much. And then we have the zipper that goes down in between her chest. Unfortunately, it doesn't go onto the torso or anything. I really wish they would have like continued that down, but again, this looks like this is a new sculpt, but all this other body part is probably reuse. So arms are pinless, which is nice, and we have this really, really cool gold bracer. And I don't know if you can tell on the camera here, but it's not your regular Marvel Legends swirly gold plastic. It actually looks uniform. And we got this really sharp X symbol on both sides. It actually looks really, really decent. Just again, like a slight dry brush to bring out those details would be great. Continuing on, we have this floating belt, which again, it's riding up, and I want to keep trying to pull it down a little bit to kind of get it somewhere centered, but you know, it is what it is. The mold, like I said, we're used to seeing that. And the legs, and then again with these look like, these are add-on pieces here for her boots. to go over the gold molded plastic here for her lower calves and her feet. But yeah, not a bad looking figure at all. And before we get into articulation, there's one more item I wanted to show about the aesthetics. And I was doing that as I was swapping out the hands here for. So if you pull this out, this gold is actually a separate piece as well. It's not it's not glued on. And you can see they actually painted a little bit of gold around the wrist here to help blend in gold piece going into the hand. So that's another small unexpected touch that I wasn't expecting with this character. But anyway, let's start going with articulation, and we'll start at the top here with, again, this gorgeous head sculpt. The only downside is she's got long hair, so you know what that means. You're not going to get any real movement up. You're going to get a little movement down, and you get a little bit of attitude from her. She is on a ball hinge for her neck. Left and right, you can move it, or you can manipulate the hair around. Moving on down, like I said before, these shoulder pieces are separate items, so that means they are going to rotate with the arm. But as you can see, it doesn't hinder the arm rotation. We can strike a really good T-pose, a little bit beyond actually. We have bicep rotation, and we have pinless double jointed elbows, so we can get a good range. She can touch her hair, flip it around, whatever. You know, she's she's the perfect mutant. She's got flight, super strength, telepathy, yada yada yada. Body, upper diaphragm swivel here, gets you a lot of motion to the side. You can get back that far, which will help with the flight poses. Forward, about that far. Moving on to hips, she can go out that far. She can go up pretty far and back pretty far, so she can get a full high kick. We have thigh swivel, and we have pinless double jointed knees to get a really good bend, but it's halted a little bit by the sculpt and this little add-on piece for her boot. But I think that's more than enough range of what you want to get. Again, we don't have a boot cut swivel anywhere. You're going to use the thigh for that because of the add-on piece. But we have a toe tilt down pretty far, toe tilt up fairly well. We don't have any rotation, but we have a pivot going on here. So that's all well and good. Like I said, she can fly, so let's see if I can get her into a bit of a flying pose here, a little pseudo Superman. She can kind of get a good pose, but my thing is I can't get the legs too close together, and that's because of the sculpt and the waist here. So I mean, you can fake it obviously, or that upper body diaphragm rotation, and you can get her into a decent pose for flying. Yeah, that's her in a nutshell. So let's go ahead and go to final impressions. And here's Monet with a bunch of other comparisons for Marvel Legends. Final impressions of Marvel Legends X-Men Monet St. Croix. I think she's a good figure. I really like the sculpt work and the printing on her face, and the old 90s costume is a really nice throwback to what I remember growing up reading comics. We've never really had this version, to my knowledge, put into toy form. I know we had some old Toy Biz figures from Gen X, but it'd be really nice to get a modern update of the entire team in this old style. The gold actually is really nice on the plastic pieces. It's not swirly, it's not all that. It actually brings a nice cohesive look to this figure. As always, thank you so much for watching the videos. I really do appreciate it. And I hope to earn your subscription today. Plus, we're less than 30 days away from Joe Fest 2023, so I want to do a lot of updates when I'm down there in Augusta, Georgia. Enjoy, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks.